Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is everybody doing? It is March 4th, 2026. This is the RambleCast, and I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and with me I have Corbin Davenport.
Hello.
So, it was an Appley week. It was very, very Appley week. And a lot of stuff's happened. But first, we're gonna get to that in a little bit. First, I guess, man, I'm just like skipping the preamble entirely. We're not even doing that bit. Um, First, I guess we'll just blow straight into a little bit of quick Google news. So, uh, they're Google is announcing some changes to the Play Store. By the way, Corbin, how are you? I don't know why I'm skipping that. We can do the quickie how are you moment.
Uh, I'm fine. Some, the usual annoyances. But the weather is pretty nice today. I ran an errand earlier and I'm putting on my jacket and then I get out. It's like, oh, it's 70 degrees today. I guess I don't need it.
I had a very, very similar experience a couple days ago when I went grocery shopping. I I threw on a sweater. I walk out to my car and it's like, oh
It's
yeah,
way
not
too
gonna
hot
need
for.
this. Not even gonna need this at all. I open my car, get into it, and it's like, oh hell, it's actually warm in here. I
Hmm.
need the windows open for a minute. I get into town and I'm driving around doing stuff, and the whole time it's like, oh, this is amazing. Like, this is spring. Which, seeing as it was March 2nd, it's like, man, get out of February, hit March, instantly, like, weather's good. I need this to be a thing. Which, of course, is now contradicted by today, where we're currently having a bit of a rainstorm. So if by some chance it cuts out, you know why. Uh,
Austin, what is Cobalt Corbin to?
I believe the hair.
The hair. Well, the hair is mostly blue. Again, it just looks weird on the webcam, but I've got a hat over it because I took an hour ago, so the hair's kind of fucked up. But I've got my Animal Crossing hat going, so it's fine.
That makes sense. Um, the world is falling apart, but tech news carries on. Uh, Too true.
Yes, there is an increasing amount of days where I'm like, wow, I really have to pay attention to the news for my job. This is unfortunate sometimes. Not to be like, wow, I wish I could ignore all the bad things happening, but it would be nice to do that occasionally. You can do that
Yeah.
occasionally. That's the healthy thing to do. Unfortunately, we're all a little bit online. Um, yeah. So the first topic, I didn't look too closely at this. I know this was the end result of the Epic Games uh, lawsuit. This is what it all came down is Google finally agreeing to change some of the things Epic was complaining about in their multi-year suit with Google over how open or not open Android was. Um, and even at the end of this blog post, they mentioned with these, I've also resolved our disputes worldwide with Epic Games. So there's a settlement connected to this that we will not be privy to because that's how settlements work.
Yeah.
Um,
Though this is sort of that, like, we really want to make it clear we're putting, like, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, we're done. Like, we do not
yeah.
consider there to be any other discussion to be had about this, which I have a funny feeling at some point a judge or Epic will pop up and be like, well, actually, there's one more thing, or some nitpick, but for the most part, yeah, I have a feeling this basically wraps it up because outside of a few minor like issues, it seems like they pretty much did answer most of the complaints that were left over from the Epic lawsuit. So starting at the top, they're now basically going to allow developers to uh, use Google Play billing, of course, or they can guide users off to their own websites or whatever purchase flow they want in order to support basically in-app purchases or whatever subscriptions, whatever it is, through other means. So that's good. I mean, that should have been a thing this whole time. It was always insane that they had limitations on what you were allowed to, basically what you were allowed to tell users to do. I kind of understand it in the sense of, presumably protecting users, but there should have always been sort of there should have been qualifiers like you have to include warnings that it's recommended to still use or to be careful about where you make purchases or something like. There always should have been some other solution that allowed developers to say, yeah, by the way, you can just come to our website and subscribe there and you get all the features.
Yeah, that's the one I ran into when I made a wrapper for PhotoStack to go on the Google Play Store. Is in Photo. I had donate links and I had Google AdSense advertisements, and I think I had to turn off the AdSense ads because they weren't like some specific format. I forget what the issue was, but I definitely had to hide the donate links, and they complained about that. So I had to, add extra code where when it gets opened through the wrapper, it passes a argument that turns off, hides every donate thing, which was annoying. And then later they added you have to put an address on the app listings, and that was okay. My app, the store now. Yeah. Whatever additional users I'm getting for this is not worth easily doxing myself. I know it's still very easy to dox me because that's how living in the United States works, but I'm not going to make it that easy.
Agreed. Yeah, there are already plenty of problems and creepy people out there, or just scammers, con artists, whatever.
This is not an invitation to dox me. Please don't.
Those who want to dox Corbin, you've been warned.
I'll give you the 3 digits on the back of my credit card, but not any of the digits on the front, and we'll call it even.
Okay. So let's see. The other, or the next big change is Google is introducing the Registered App Stores program. This is basically just if you are running an app store or even just effectively an installer, then what you can do now is register with Google. And I want to highlight very clearly this is registering with Google. In a second, I'm going to really nitpick the hell out of that. As a registered app store, basically you go into a database that is checked whenever somebody tries to install an app store on their phone. And if your app if your app store is in that database, then you basically get this simple install this app store pop-up dialog, which is basically the one step between you and installing that app store. If you do it any other way, if you're not registered, then then your phone is going to pop up more dialogues that ask for multiple permissions. It basically makes it a less pleasant experience for installing that app store. It doesn't make it impossible. It just puts up a few more roadblocks. Now, that emphasis I put on your registering with Google, I want to highlight very specifically the top line of this dialog that pops up that says this app store is registered with Android. It's not registered with Android. It is not registered with the operating system. It is registered with Google. Just want to really, really hammer Google for kind of slipping in a little bit of a mislead here. Now, why is this important? I don't know. It probably isn't, but it just feels a little gross somehow that they're making this not a company specific thing. Regardless, so this is a thing. I don't think it really matters all that much. There are a couple dozen app stores out there that will obviously probably want to take advantage of this, but I don't think it's actually going to be that big of an issue. Like, it doesn't really change much. I would worry more, though, what's going to come in the future. Are there going to be more limitations put on non-registered app stores? And for that matter, is Google going to start doing anything hinky with registered app stores? Like maybe the knowledge of what they are, what they're doing. Maybe Google will have some requirement that they be submitted, and that way they might be looking closer at them somehow. I don't know. I'm just raising those as thoughts. Truthfully, I think that this is more sort of cosmetic than anything. And I believe the final change that they announced is lower pricing and new programs to support developers. I don't love this. I mean, I appreciate what they're doing. I kind of like what's happening here, but I also think it's a little bit window dressing too. So, they're claiming that Google Play's fees are the lowest among major app stores. I don't know that that's actually true. I think maybe the word major is carrying a little bit more weight than it should here.
Because like, what's the other app store? It's the one on a completely different platform.
Right.
Like, you can't install the Apple App Store on Android phones, so that's not a super helpful. It's a comparison if you're an app developer and trying to figure out what platforms to target, but that's about it.
Yeah, and when you get to other Android app stores, aside from the fact that there are none that would likely be called major, except when you get to China, beyond that, like, the rest of them are either oriented around open source and free apps, where I believe they have no fees. So objectively, Google is more expensive because you at least need to pay the upfront fee to get in. And anybody else, I think their app stores are really just more for distributing their own apps, not other people's apps. So, this feels a little whatever. But anyway, moving on. So they're going to be changing their billing strategy a little bit. So for developers that are using Google Play's billing system, they're going to be charged a quote-unquote market-specific rate that's separate from the service fee, which, as they highlight in the US, UK, and European Economic Area, that's going to be 5%. Now, keep in mind, this is not going to be just 5%. You're going to be paying 5% in addition to the service fee. Now we get to the service fees. For new app installs, they're going to be reducing their in-app purchase service fee to 20%. So just to state the really obvious here, that means it's 20% plus the 5% in your billing fee. So you're at 25%. Um, and they're also launching the Apps Experience program that basically changes the Google Play Games Level Up program to uh, I, effectively they're just fiddling with the numbers. Um, so any developer with in-app purchases in their app is going to have a 20% service fee for those transactions, and on existing installs they're going to have that, but it's 15% on new installs. So basically they're grandfathering in the old service fee without the billing on existing. Or wait, no, sorry, I take that back. Under the new model? Okay, I did misread that earlier. Um, so new installs get a lower fee than existing installs. What on earth are they doing? This seems so backwards. So I guess you're grandfathered into a higher fee structure and you can't move to the new fee structure. That's incredible. Um it,
The the vibe I'm getting from this almost is that it's like I'm sure a lot of things work this way in like revenue sharing stuff. It does feel a little bit to me like muddying the waters to sort of make this a more difficult thing to discuss, because the 30% was like easy rallying cry for Epic Games and everyone else talking about this. Very easy to
mm-hmm.
understand, to the point where Epic could you know up their user base of children, because even the children can understand, oh, you're the in-app 30% more with apples is bad. um, but this is has a lot more variables that makes it difficult to summarize and talk about.
Yeah. So it is worth highlighting, and I was immediately thinking this earlier. Um, the really important note is hidden in these really, really tiny print below each of these, which is that this still applies, or this only applies at the higher end once you've made $1 million in earnings. If you're making under 1 million, then the annual fee is still 15%. The and then things are basically, yeah, it's still 10% plus 5% for the new model. So nothing's actually changed there if you're making under 1 million. Once you make over 1 million, they're reducing your costs by some, certainly, just not huge amounts, which kind of feels like we gave Epic what they asked for. It just wasn't what they were hoping for. And then, of course, they have a new rollout, or a rollout timeline, which nobody cares about, because at this stage, none of that stuff matters to anyone who will be listening to this show. Uh, you Because come on, how if you're making $1 million, you're doing okay.
I like the AI slop on this blog post. Um, it's a nice cherry on top here.
You're talking about the lead image?
Yeah, in the school. Um,
Is this AI slot?
yeah, it would be for the phones to be different if a person was drawing this, and all of the like column lines are different, and also the text on top is kind of wonky. Gemini logo at the bottom right. Oh yeah,
Oh
I didn't
yeah.
even
Okay, the phones are
see
different.
that.
You're right.
Wow, I'm just so good at detecting that. I didn't need the watermark. Um, and also this blog post that talks at length about how Android is so open and flexible and users have so much choice leaves out the fact that in a couple months, all Android developers will have to register with Google. Um, in sort of the same way that iOS currently works for the places where Apple has been legally forced to not be a dick. Um, which is still bad. That's still a thing that like the F-Droid people and other groups in that sphere are advocating against. It doesn't seem like the complaining is accomplishing anything, unfortunately. Probably still going to go ahead. Um, so, but Epic Games, it probably doesn't care about that. They're okay. Um,
Okay, gonna quickly let's pause because I thought the buffering was only affecting me, but apparently it's going into the stream too. So
um,
hold on while I just refresh this window and rejoin the call. Let's see if this will fix it. Because it'd be great if it does. Okay.
I also just paused some cloud uploads. I don't think they were, but maybe.
I think you are still buffering. I don't know why that is. That might be because I've refreshed this chat a couple times. I know you did earlier too. I think this might be something that's happening with Google Meet.
I'll try a different browser. I'll try Edge.
I literally heard a quick buffer just right at the start. So yeah, I don't. Maybe it's good now, but
You're probably gonna have to let me in because I've not logged into Google on Edge.
I've got it open.
I'll reconnect.
Okay. We'll just switch that. Not that it matters.
Okay. I'm now Edge Corbin. I'm edging.
Okay, I know I heard a quick buffer, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the start of the call. We'll see how it goes.
Now it's worse. Fuck.
No. Hold on. Because as far as I know, it only happened the one time. Though, yeah, your camera's a little acting up, but I think that's just... That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see, because maybe it was just the start of the call that was the problem.
Maybe.
But yeah, all said and done, yeah, Google's... Look, technically this is all good news. But it just... Maybe we're just jaded at this stage, but it just feels a little bit like Google's kind of getting the a little bit cruddy behavior going on with just everything they do in the Play Store. And it's weird to have that take, but like this is the reason I wasn't rushing out to like launch Android apps all these years, is because I kept seeing little steps in this direction and kind of not loving it. And so yeah, maybe I'm just too jaded now, but kind of worried a little bit about where some of this goes, because behind every one of these statements, I just get a little bit of that whiff of like, there's small print that they're not mentioning here. And
yeah,
and you never know, like, what are they going to do when it comes to like registered stores? Like, it's one thing to say, oh, hey, you can register your app store with us, and that's going to make everything better for you. Okay, great. But, and as far as users are concerned, woohoo, like, yay, we like easier workflows. We're happy with this. But then what are the terms and conditions that you have to sign as a registered app store? Like, how much are you giving to Google when you do this? Do you pay for it? Do you have to agree to certain terms that maybe aren't very good? Do you have to give Google access to some data that they shouldn't have or shouldn't be able to ask for? I don't know. But that's the sort of thing that just leaves me a little bit curious what the limits are or what the side effects are.
Yeah, I know we're not going to talk about this because it was a while ago, um, but there was the whole round of uh, Discord announcing age verification and like partially rolling it back, and there's a lot of apps doing the same thing, and this feels connected to the general sense of like there is uh, a no one can really figure out should be decided if it's like should operating systems be uh, what people can access to, should it be the app stores, should it be something on like a networking level, because no one's figured that out. There's like all these other things falling apart around it, um, and I don't know what that will it's uh, frustrating to watch everything sort of uh, get implemented haphazardly, especially with like every government trying like a slightly different dumb law for this. Um, less so with the App Store stuff specifically. I've said a lot that like I wish the U.S. would force Apple to do what the European Union has, but we don't do that here. In fact, we're about to just let every company merge into a single company called Paramount, and then we won't have to worry about silly things like competition.
Yeah,
Still
I'm.
having issues, huh?
Yeah, it's just weird because every, I don't know, 30, 20 seconds or so, all of a sudden you just pause for like a half a second and there's no audio. Your frame just freezes and then picks right back up and it's fine for another 20 or 30 seconds. And I again, like I don't know if this is your side, my side, or maybe it's Meat that's the problem. I don't know.
I'll try rebooting really quick because that only takes me a minute. You can talk about the studio display that I don't care about.
Oh yeah, that's kind of perfect.
Convenient.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll
we
BRB then.
we like that arrangement. Okay, so um, yes, the studio display. So I actually don't have a lot to say here. I tried kind of looking for some details on this, and it's it's something. So, getting into the start of the Apple news, one of the things that they announced was the new Studio Display and Studio Display XDR. These are famously really large displays, high resolution, they look great, blah blah blah. All that stuff you kind of know. The wacky thing that's obviously drawing a ton of attention is the fact that the Studio Display XDR weighs in at a whopping $3,299. Yes, that's real. That is a holy God's level. Uh oh wow, yeah, I just noticed the um oh wait. Oh, what's oh, okay. Yeah, I noticed that the comments were stuck behind. Yeah, anyway. So, let me fix that real quick. Corbin's back and
I'm back.
get things back in place. All right. Yeah, so we'll see how this works out. So the Studio Display XDR is coming in at a insane $3,299. The regular studio display, the non-XDR model, is coming in at $1,599. So these are super expensive. They are very much designed for like professional workflows, which is kind of proven by the fact that they don't have super high refresh rates even at that price. Though the Studio Display XDR does hit 120, which I'm gonna argue is pretty damn good, at least at the resolution that it can pump. Let's see. Quickly kind of skimming chat. Okay. So what's special about these? I'm not gonna try to list everything, because there are little tweaks and changes that were made. Like if you go point by point on the specs, then yeah, they sound they obviously are impressive, but like versus the previous studio displays, you're getting into like nitpicky territory. None of it's super special. The one thing I did want to call out though is the Studio Display XDR has a mini LED display, or rather mini LED backlighting with 2,304 dimming zones. That is insane. That is so good. So anybody who knows enough about like HDR, you know that the biggest problem with a lot of HDR displays is that their dimming zones could usually be counted on like your hands. Or some of the better ones might hit like a few dozen dimming zones. The fact that this is hitting 2,304 dimming zones is really good. And just to put this in perspective, that means that you're paying about $1.41 per dimming zone. Because yes, that is still a $3,300 freaking monitor. So yeah, this is still super expensive, and hardly anyone's going to buy this outside of like maybe Hollywood editors.
Yeah, that's kind of why I not super interested in like questions, because this is not made for you thing. This is a thing that like this is for Pixar.
Yes,
And,
exactly.
like some like graphic design studios, and that's about it. Everyone else, they can buy the normal, Dell or Lenovo monitor, get yourself something nice. This is for like the people that like really need color calibration and like are editing in HDR because they're working on a movie that will be mastered to Dolby Vision, that kind of stuff. So seems neat. I don't remotely need this for writing and occasional photo editing, but maybe I'll see one in real life one day.
And Carson, exactly. This is for MKBHD and all of the other YouTubers that they just need to show off how much money they have. That's honestly the reason for this.
Well, that and you know, you can upload videos to YouTube with HDR off, and you need to see what that you're making it.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm sure to some degree this will be a flex, but seems like it's useful for the people who actually need like best monitor in the world for accuracy. But
Oh yeah. I'm not trying to suggest that this isn't like actually useful, but I think the overwhelming portion of people that are going to be buying this are, well, maybe not overwhelming, but probably a mix of YouTubers flaunting their cash and legitimate editors that will, to some extent, actually need this. But yeah, that's kind of where the line is going to be drawn.
yeah. Um, which one did you want to do next? I don't.
Uh, I
I
figured
don't.
we'd actually leave it in the order that it's in the document. But
Okay.
if you want to put anything else first, just say so.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
I was just saying. Oh, Carson asked, "Is it OLED?" Um.
The Studio Display XDR is micro LED.
Okay. So same as like the MacBook Pros.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so.
I don't know if Apple's ever made like a large OLED display, except not large physically, but large in terms of pixels would be the Vision Pro. I think the Vision Pro is OLED.
Um,
They're still going with micro LED, LCD stuff.
yeah, and the regular Studio Display, the non XDR, is just LED.
Oh, the iPad Pro. Yeah, Carson. Some of the iPads are OLED. Uh, Alyssa said X-rays. No, hospitals will show your X-rays on the 15-year-old Dell monitor, and if they don't, then something's wrong.
Yep. Yeah, that's I
Exactly like the school monitor I've got behind me that I got at the thrift store.
yeah, pretty much. Um, so I mean, they're cool. I'd love to have one of these, and who knows, maybe someday when someone is throwing away their old one, I might scrounge up enough and like steal it or
Yeah.
something. But
I
yeah.
will not. I will not announce when I win the lottery, but there will be signs.
Yeah, exactly.
Corbin, why do you have 6 Studio Display X background of your call now? Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not important.
Carson said I would love one for programming. Yeah, I'm
Oh yeah.
sure it's nice on there.
Yeah, no question. This would be awesome. But yeah,
All right.
probably not.
So, drawing shift and tone from the most expensive thing to the cheapest thing. Um,
Basically, yeah.
Apple finally announced the long-awaited budget MacBook. It is the MacBook Neo, which is an interesting choice, but I think they've boxed themselves into a corner with with every time they do a new budget device, they have a different uh, ending for. With the iPhones in the E, so the new one we'll talk about later is the iPhone 17e, but I don't think you can do like MacBook Air E or MacBook E. So that'd make a new word. I don't use SE anymore for reasons that are unclear to me. So, but Corbin's always getting worse and worse. What?
Yeah. I've
Mm,
I've been trying to see if I can even find like an explanation on my computer and I can't. Like my
mm. Well, I've already changed browsers. What if? Let's see. Do I have
yeah.
my? I'll do this. What if I try Google Meet on my telephone? I have the moment. Um, where's my? Is it back here? Where's my adapter? Yes.
Yeah, like I'm looking through all of my system stats and I'm not my CPU load and memory usage are a little higher than they
Google Meet on the
need to be,
Galaxy
but
XR. I could do that. Um,
that'd be
that is
hilarious.
that is an option. You can look at my my face, but I'll try this first. Let's see. This means I won't have the background blur though, so please don't dox me based on how my apartment looks.
For what it's worth, as you move your head from time to time, it reveals little segments of your background anyway, so
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me try rejoining. 1 second.
all right. Well, we're in we're doing this live, folks. We're doing this live. Da, da, da. Okay. Just waiting on that. I know, super exciting show. I feel like he had specific things he wanted to start saying about the Neo, but yeah, we're gonna be pulling up some specs to go with this in a second too. Hollywood production, it absolutely is. Oh, that does vaguely remind me though. I was gonna go look back at chat to see if there was anything interesting in there. I can hear myself echoing through Corbin's phone.
How? I'm wearing earbuds.
I don't know.
Is that a you problem?
It can't be.
What the fuck?
Because I've never heard this before. And it's very subtle, but yeah, I do hear it.
Okay. I will try it on the Galaxy XR. 1 second.
this is turning weird. Okay, so let's see. Who be mentioning it that the XDR supports X-ray images, which yeah, that is neat. I'm not sure how different that is really from any display though. All right, let's see. Alyssa, the price makes a gaming PC in 2026 look sane. Yes, 1000%. Look, I don't think there should be any dispute that Apple's overcharging for that monitor. It's so expensive.
Okay. All right. What happens when I turn on video? I think it's my face.
We'll find out.
Yes.
Oh boy.
This is the very uncustomized avatar. So I think I'm just gonna leave this off because it's kind of terrifying.
It's hilarious though. I don't know. I think you should leave it on.
Okay.
It's just fun.
But then I have to see it is the problem. I can see myself in it.
Oh well, if that's gonna bother you, then yeah, kill it. But it is funny.
Yeah. Unless there's an option to hide it. Oh, I can reverse it, so I can walk around my apartment, do like POV your Corbin. The mic quality is awful. Yeah, that's because it's the Galaxy XR microphone now.
Yeah.
So, I could plug in another mic, but I think it's still going to be awful because it's Android in a voice call. So,
most likely. Though Android did get a little better at dealing with external mics, it's hard to say whether or not that's going to make a difference. Though
okay. So now I need to open the Google Doc again. So I don't have that. I'm not logged into Firefox on here, so I don't have everything.
Well, can't you use pass-through to see it on your screen?
I can, but that's really dumb.
Hold on. Wow, to the credit, this seems to have fixed the buffering issue, though, or at least I think it has. So, for some reason, that seems to confirm that the issue was somehow your computer, which doesn't make any sense. Why would that be having a problem?
I don't know. I'm working on opening the YouTube chat. Is this going to open in a browser window? No, it's not. It's opening in the YouTube app, which is not helpful. Okay. I'm almost there.
Carson earlier said somebody in the world is going to buy the Studio Display XDR to use with the MacBook Neo. And
That
oh my
that would
god,
be funny.
I for one, I I believe it's technically is it supported? Actually, I saw a thing that suggests it might not be. I'm not sure
The
though.
the
Um,
Neo cannot push more than 4K pixels over its display.
kind of what
So
I
if it
thought.
does, it's going to be bad resolution.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm not going to log into my Google account right now, but I am just going to open the Apple Newsroom
that works.
website in another window. And this is a very dumb setup now. So I'm
Oh,
not logged into anything. I was not prepared for this.
it's how it goes.
Okay.
We're never really prepared for the things we have to do on here.
Um, New feature, try the immersive call experience special for XR. No, thank you. I think that's going to kick me out of the multitasking mode that I now need because I'm looking at two browser windows and the call. Okay. Is that working? No, the meet call went over there. Okay.
I hope everyone is enjoying this because frankly, this feels like parody.
Yeah. I mean, this would be fine if I was like set up at all for it. And the benefit also now is that I can walk around and talk. Oh, shit. Okay.
That actually makes me jealous. I would
Yeah.
I like walking around when I talk. I feel sort of locked in when I'm doing this. Um,
Okay. I've got it open now. I can't talk in the chat anymore, but that's fine. I'm not logged in. Um, yeah,
I'll keep a
so
closer eye on chat.
okay. Um, yeah, so new MacBook, it is $600 or $500 if you are permitted to use the education discount, uh, which is pretty impressive. I think the lowest that like the semi-modern MacBook Airs have got down to is like $800. And for a while, the M1 Air was, I want to say 700. It might have dipped lower to 600 a couple times, but by that point, it was several years old, so not as good of a deal. Um, and uh, I think kind of the question here was like, what sacrifices is Apple willing to make a cheap laptop? Because this has always been the issue with Apple, is that they want to still put out, generally speaking, they still want to put out the premium feeling high-end electronics to maintain their brand image. They've deviated that from a couple times when we got like the plastic iPhones, but for the most part, they've stuck to it. So this is still like a MacBook. It looks like it's using a roughly the same like aluminum build design. Screen size is similar. It's a 13-inch liquid retina display at 2400 pixels by 1500 pixels roughly. So pretty good. Most mid-range PC laptop screens are 1080, so a little bit higher than that. Doesn't have a notch, so kind of looks more like the older MacBooks. Um, it also has, kind of normal keyboard. It doesn't have a Force Touch trackpad, which is interesting, but they still said in this press release that you can still click everywhere. So I'm not sure if I don't think it's like a physical push down mechanism like other PC laptops, but I guess it's missing some of the haptic feedback. I'm not really sure. I'm sure some of the like unboxing or hands-on stuff that went up today explains that, but I've not looked.
I
Um,
wonder if maybe I can't imagine they would do this, but I wonder if there's some chance that it's like instead of putting in the Force Touch trackpad, they're just putting in the old trackpads that had a physical button. I mean, it would have to be, right? Because Force Touch, the key differentiator is that it's using a haptic motor inside, and it's just detecting pressure on the
yeah.
trackpad as opposed to just a physical button. So I'm assuming that's what it has to be, because otherwise, how are people using like click on it?
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. So kind of the main trade-off with this of several, but probably the one that's the most interesting is this has an Apple A18 Pro chipset in it, which is the same one used in the current Pro iPhones. So this is a recycled iPhone chip that's now on a Mac. That's the first time they've put an A series chip in the Mac. Obviously, like Apple Silicon is just upgraded A series, so it's not that weird, but it's still kind of weird. Um, the benchmarks I was looking at showed that it is faster than an M1. So it's probably fine for performance, but there are no like long-term reviews or anything. I'll be interested in seeing those.
I think
Um,
I think that needs some qualifying. I don't know which benchmarks you're looking at, but I think it's more appropriate to say um,
it's like
that
Geekbench CPU and GPU
right.
benchmarks.
Okay. Um, and I'm assuming that that's probably discussing single core and multi core performance and GPU performance.
Yeah.
Um, the catch here is I'm pretty sure those benchmarks don't include things like let's just say video encoding or in like neural engine performance or a whole host of other things that do actually like those are the features that an M series chip come with because they're packaging a lot of other things into those chips,
Yeah.
not just sort of the bare bones of what the A18 Pro has. Um, and as Carson points out, and thank you, I was going to say the same. Uh, the um, the A18 Pro was on the Pro Series iPhone 16 Pro, not the 17 Pro because they moved up to the A19 Pro for that. That's a whole
Okay.
lot of number mashing, but basically, yeah, it's actually an older iPhone chip technically, or not technically. I mean, it is the older chip, but they very recently replaced it.
Right.
Um, but it is kind of funny that they're rolling out not even the newest chip on their new laptop model.
Yeah.
Uh,
And so, besides potential performance problems that we don't know about yet, it also has the issue of more limited. Uh, I guess the word is like data bandwidth. So this still has two USB-C ports, but one of them is USB 3 and the other is USB 2. And uh, which, all of the recent MacBook Airs and Pros are Thunderbolt on all ports. So that is a downgrade, not something that would matter to 90%, 95% of people buying these laptops. Um, but kind of interesting. I do wish that they were labeled. When you look at the pictures, they're just identical USB-C ports, and I think there's going to be a lot of people buying this and then trying to plug a monitor into one of them, and like, why is my monitor not working?
yeah.
Um,
So for reference, I have it up on screen right now. You can tell just because of which end it's on what the rear of the laptop is. The the USB port that is closer to the rear, that is the USB 3 port, or actually more specifically USB 3.2, I believe. I think it's 3.2. And then the port forward of that is the USB 2 port. So the reason I think this is kind of notable is if you think about which port you're likely to plug a charging cable into, just because it's the rear port, that's where your charging cable is probably going to go. So the remaining port is going to be a USB 2 port, which is not what most people are going to want to plug their stuff into for data usage.
yeah, I mean
So
the USB 2 port is still like 400 megabits per second or something like that. So most
480.
flash, yeah, so like most flash drives are fine, but yeah, like if you're buying this, you would definitely want to get in the habit of use the USB 2 for charging probably, and then the 3 is what you want to plug all your hubs stuff into because both of them can do charging. but only the USB 3 one can do like DisplayPort and stuff.
Correct. And I'm going
Or
to add
pass-through charging with a hub on
right.
the USB 3.
I'm going to say though, like you mentioned using flash drives. And yeah, that's absolutely a use case here. But think of it, or the way I would think of it, especially with a laptop where you only have 2 ports, anyone who needs to plug in more than one item is going to be plugging in a hub. And once you're to the point of using a USB hub, you probably are going to actually push well past that 480 megabit per second max of USB 2. At which point you really should be plugging into the USB 3 port. Now, granted, any good hub can probably also do power pass through on that same port along with a ton of data, and that's all great. But it's something people need to actually be aware of. This is actually a thing people should pay attention to and know about with the laptop, and not just trust that it's going to trust that you're using the right port. You have to actually know you're using the right port. So
Yeah.
I don't love that.
It needs to. I understand the likely technical reasons why they did that. And the ports need to be labeled. It's kind of silly.
Yes.
But you still get a headphone jack on the side, which is nice. And there's no MagSafe on this either, which is interesting for something that Apple wants to sell to schools, because kids love to destroy USB ports. It's like one of their favorite things. So that's maybe not ideal for that.
I don't think that I've heard that before. Are you now suggesting that that's like doing it for the meme, like kids like breaking USB ports, or is this more just you're saying it happens?
It was a trend for a while, but I mean in normal use of like a laptop in a school environment, all the ports get a ton of wear and tear from, being taken on and off chargers constantly.
I genuinely did not think you were going to say that it was actually a trend.
Kids love destroying things.
Oh no, I get that. I certainly remember being in school and watching lots of stuff getting destroyed. And of course, the big joke with computers back then was to just pull, and yes, I know this is dating me at least somewhat. The big joke back then was to just pull the balls out of the mice and leave the mouse sitting there otherwise. And so schools actually would have to invest in buying extra balls for the mice. Yes, and this whole explanation is just sounding sillier and sillier.
I was hoping you'd say like, and this will date me, but kids kept pulling the punch cards out of the computers.
Oh, you dick!
Sorry.
I mean it's good. That's good. I'm not mad.
So
I might get my revenge someday, but I'm not mad. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, the USB and MagSafe port situation is not good. I honestly, I think so much about that is already sort of harmed, so to speak. I'm going to throw in, and I personally don't think that this is a big deal, but I think it's going to matter to a lot more people than anyone necessarily realizes. But the one port that this is also missing, and it's also missing in the MacBook Air, so it's not like that's crazy, but there's no memory card reader.
Yeah.
And when you're already down on ports, I feel like this is going to be a weirdly popular device, not just for sort of your budget crowd, but also your, dare I say, throwaway crowd. The people who are going to buy certain stuff with the knowledge that it's going to travel a lot and kind of get beat up, and they'd rather just spend the minimal amount of money buying hardware that they know is going to get damaged, so that they can just sort of toss it to the side someday. And I can see a lot of photographers and maybe even videographers kind of looking at this and going, hey, this is perfect. We want this. oh, but it doesn't have a memory card reader. And look, you can buy memory card reader adapter dongle whatever for like $10, $15. It's fine. Like no one is really going to be impacted by that. But I'm just saying it's something I have a funny feeling a lot of people are actually going to want, and it won't be there.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was like a thing they could chop off to save a couple cents, and that made the difference for something else. But that would ideally be something to have if your bandwidth limited is a SD card reader on the computer, because it's not going to eat up much of the available IO space. But yeah, so you've got weird port situation. You've got the reused iPhone chip. You've got no Touch ID unless you get the higher end model with 512 gigs of storage.
Yeah, worth noting. There are only 2 configurations for this laptop. Not counting other stuff like what Apple Care comes on it or whatever. You can only get this in 256 or 512 storage capacity, and the 256 model does not have Touch ID. Period.
Yeah.
No fingerprint reader at all. The 512 model does have it, and just to note really quick the price difference, it's $599 for the 256 model, and it's $699 for the 512 with Touch ID. So $100 more to get more storage and the fingerprint reader.
Yeah, and I know someone in the chat mentioned memory. Yeah, someone said, I'm only surprised, disappointed by the 8 gigs of memory. Otherwise, this looks like a good product. I obviously more memory would be good, but 8 gigs is still okay on macOS for the moment. Again, don't know what that'll look like in 5 years, but I was still rocking my 8 gig RAM MacBook Air M1 Air, which is supposedly slower than this, until last year when I sold it and my MacBook, or my I sold it and my Mac Mini to consolidate and get the Pro, and I was doing, I was playing Civ 6 in Parallels VMs. I was doing, web dev with Docker containers, occasional Final Cut editing, and like it's gonna be a little bit slower sometimes because it's gonna have to dip into Swap, but it's still a different experience than 8 gigs of RAM on a Windows PC. Like I would not feel good about anyone using a gig RAM PC now, but macOS memory management is like slightly better, so it's not as much of an issue. Obviously, I would like there to be more, even if it was like 12 gigs, something like that would be nice. But I understand like they had a price to hit, and just no one can afford RAM right now. So I think that was like an okay trade-off to make under the circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't object to it. I get it. But I don't love it for an assortment of reasons.
I will say also the on the bigger issue to me, honestly, is the base model only having 256 gigs of storage. That's rough. That's, I think, more. I think that's going to affect more people than the 8 gig of memory, honestly, because like I know like I'm weird, and I was like saving a lot of my cloud files offline, and not everyone does that, and like other large projects, but Mac apps are just huge, so it doesn't take long to fill up a lot of storage, especially because Apple doesn't like you moving apps to external drives. So like I checked my Mac earlier, and the current version of Microsoft Word by itself is 2.5 gigs. And like Excel is also 2.5 gigs, and Chrome is a gig. And that's only what's in the .app. I don't know, all the shit they put in my library folder elsewhere. Like I saw, if if you let Chrome or Edge download their local AI models for those web APIs, those are like 5 gigs, just the AI model for just one browser. So like it's very easy to fill up that storage, and I think that would be a bigger issue. I think normal people will hit that before they hit the 8 gigs of RAM.
Okay, so all right. I want to kind of tackle that subject, but there's a couple other offshoots that it's going to be hard not to drift into at the same time. So, I do agree with you. 256 is going to be kind of limiting for certain use cases. Like I mentioned, photographers. I could see a lot of photographers getting this as like throwaway gear. 256, yeah, not going to cut it for that group. They're really going to have to spend the $100 to upgrade that. The audience that I think that they intend this for, or the audience they intend 256 for, I think that is grandma and grandpa. It's, it's like kids' first laptop, that kind of thing. Where
right, it's going to be a lot of like Google Docs, maybe Microsoft
Right.
Office, email.
Well, it's going to be a lot of stuff that happens in a web browser.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much just going to be, you're going to have the Core OS and Safari. A lot of people have Chrome, and name like, I don't know, a handful, maybe even a dozen other apps at the most. And when you're in that category, space usage is not a thing with the apps. And what I mean by that is, I don't want to go to the trouble of looking all these up, but the average person is probably going to have Discord installed. They might have, I don't know, maybe another browser. They might have a music app. They might have a few other things combined. That's going to take up maybe another 4 or 5 gigs, maybe. At that point, you're using, I don't know, combined, you're probably going to use about, I was about to say 20 gigs. It's probably going to add up to about 30 gigs. In the grand scheme, 30 gigs out of 256, you're fine. You're not going to hit that anytime soon unless you're kind of piling up a lot of extra files. So I'm not too worried about that for that audience. It's where people start downloading, or if people are trying to keep a collection of photos or something like that, you're going to run through it pretty quick. If anyone's trying to do video editing on this, which I already wouldn't really recommend, but it's doable. If you're trying to do video editing, yeah, you're gonna really just have to use an external, like SSD or something, because you're not gonna want to run this on the internal memory. Which notably, the internal memory is also much slower. It's 60 gigabit per second instead of 153 gigabit per second, which, yikes, that's a massive performance difference. It's less than half the speed of a lot of other MacBook Pros, or MacBooks, sorry. So that's gonna be kind of more your issue. So I don't think 256 is necessarily going to be the limiting factor for a lot of people, but it is a limiting factor for some people, which that leads us into like schools. If schools want to use these, you're going to hit those storage limits. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
And it's because schools usually have to install a lot more software. Anything from monitoring software, monitoring and management, like fleet management stuff. They're going to have probably software to support multiple different classes, because some classes are going to need various different things. you're probably going to have a lot of the stuff that kids just sort of sneak through and manage to get installed even when they're not supposed to. You're going to have obviously a lot of file storage going on, because people are just going to be putting a lot of files on very repetitively, and a lot of that's probably not going to get cleaned off very efficiently. So you start running into storage limits very, very fast if you're trying to use this in a school setting. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think these are going to be popular for schools. I just don't think that they're going to be a good experience for schools unless they pay to upgrade them, which a lot of schools probably aren't going to be doing. Also, really quick, I just wanted to point out that if you look at the A18, which is also the A18 Pro, the page on Wikipedia, you see a whole lot of overlap that kind of explains the specs of this laptop. Very notably, the page mentions that the A18 has a USB 2 controller, and the A18 Pro also has a 3.2 Gen 2 controller. So that explains the USB ports. They literally have exactly the right number of controllers for those ports. They mentioned that, let's see, the A18 series only has 8 gigs of RAM. Thus, the laptop only has 8 gigs of RAM. There is no option to upgrade that to anything higher. 12 or 16 obviously would have been better, but the chip just literally doesn't have support for it. And let's see, again, like, you could go through this whole list. I'm not going to run for point, but the basic principle here is, yeah, they basically just took the chip. They did not do anything to enhance this. It is literally just the old iPhone chip stuck into a laptop. There's surprisingly little in the way of like enhancements that would have made this more laptop oriented.
Yeah. Carson said when I was in high school, we had a cart of shared Chromebooks in class where we could sign on any laptop. Yeah, that's how it was for mine, but they were netbooks that were very precariously upgraded to Windows 7, and it took about 20 minutes for them to sign into the MDN. So
that's rough.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so there's the chipset, the storage, RAM, port situation.
Okay.
I think that's mostly it.
I do have a couple quick points to also hit. One of which is I just want to mention this really quick before moving on to the others. Notably, if you look in the store, and I meant to have this store page open, I forgot. I'll pull it up real quick. But if you go to the store, you will find that the included power adapter, if you buy the Neo, is 20 watt.
Yeah.
That is low. That is so low for a power adapter on a MacBook of any kind. I mean, it's not terrible, but
I mean, I'm sure that chip is just sipping power because it's an iPhone chip.
Correct, but it is not an iPhone display. And that is, I think, the real issue here. Is if it were an iPhone display, you'd 20 watt would make sense. But this, like, sure, the chip is going to sip power, but it is not going to be necessarily a sipping power display. So that's...
I wonder what I don't think the specs page says how long it says to charge. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Okay. And it took longer than it should have, but I finally found it. Yeah. So the one that I configured notes that it comes with 8 gigs of memory, 512. Obviously, I just picked 512. This one is also the one with the Touch ID and a 20-watt USB-C power adapter. So they really cheaped out with the power adapter. I feel like they could have at least bumped this to like a 40 or something. Also, this page conveniently mentions that it supports one external display. So whether it could or not have the power to push more, this one is limited to a single external display. And seeing as the MacBook, not the current MacBook Air, I believe, but I want to say it was like just a generation earlier or something. That one was also limited to one display. So
I think there's still one.
Are they still one?
I think. Let's see. Apple
I'm checking real
Mac
quick.
MacBook Air. Going to the specs. Tech specs.
Yeah.
13-inch Air. If I scroll all the way down, supports up to 2 external displays, so it is 2 now.
Yeah, but this is also the one that's pre-ordered, whereas unclear on whether or not this is true for older models. I know at least one of the older models definitely only supported one, because I remember this being a big topic in a podcast that I listened to.
Yeah, I know like the M1 and some of the newer hardware after that did. Yeah.
Right. But I don't know how recent that was.
Yeah.
And Alyssa, yeah, I would probably make a point of getting a different power adapter just because, like,
yeah, we don't know what the maximum input for this is.
right.
Apple never says that, which is not helpful. So I don't. Maybe this can charge at 30 or 40 watts. I don't think we know yet.
So yeah, let's see. Also, worth mentioning, this comes in 4 colors. You can choose between, and let me get these on screen. Let's see. You can choose between, I believe this is blush, indigo, silver, and unflushed toilet bowl yellow, otherwise known as citrus.
Yeah, the yellow is concerning. That's a you're having a medical emergency yellow.
Yeah.
It's my sickly MacBook.
Yeah. I'm sure it's not bad. Like there will absolutely be people that are in love with this yellow. But I don't know. I can't not look at it and think, yeah, someone didn't flush. That's entirely this color. Good job, Apple. You picked this as your very notable color. That being said, obviously silver looks like silver. The indigo, I think, actually looks pretty good, though it's basically just kind of another version of gray with a little bit of hue to it. And the blush is pink. So,
yep.
Yeah. I mean, the other colors are fine. They're not particularly remarkable or interesting in any specific way, and a color just generally isn't that interesting. But yeah. Alyssa, you always get a silver MacBook Pro. I have pretty much always gotten silvers. Not surprising because MacBook Pro, you really don't get color options. But I have, wherever possible, I've drifted towards the darker version, so space gray. If I was getting one of these, I'd probably go with the indigo.
Yeah, and also these have color matched keyboards, which is fun.
Oh yeah, they do. That's right.
Normal MacBooks don't. They're always black. So yeah. Um,
Let's see. And were these aluminum? I actually didn't check that.
I think they said.
Yes, they do appear to be aluminum.
Yeah.
Um,
Which again, that's like a lot of the PC laptops in this price range are built like crap. So that's
yes.
pretty nice. You are getting some, it's not quite as bad around like $500 these days. But like $300 or $400, you're getting some pretty sad plastic enclosures, unfortunately.
Yep. So, yeah. And let's see. Also, think I think the last point I made a note, or oh no, sorry, there were 2 points, but okay, so before I get to that last point, just because that's a minor note, one of the things I noticed in their advertising is that Apple Intelligence is not heavily discussed, but it is definitely part of their advertising. And so it bears quickly mentioning, yes, this does have the NPU that is part of the A18 Pro. It has the ability to do some on-device processing, but, and this is the big but, it with this RAM and with a iPhone chip and with a slower internal bandwidth, I mean, we're talking about like on-device processing is not going to be great on here.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was somewhat exemplified further by the fact that all of their advertising made very quick points to say that private cloud compute is available for, quote, more complex requests, which I think basically means if it's not just a really basic request, yeah, it's going to end up going to cloud compute. And that's not a terrible thing, but I think anyone who's expecting that you're not going to use cloud compute, you're gonna be wrong. Like, it's most stuff I think is going to end up going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Siri powered by Gemini. Exactly. And that's what's going to happen. But yeah, so anyway, these are going to be available starting in 1 week. March 11th, which is next Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a good laptop for normal laptop things. And it's nice that there's an option for that now that is not a Chromebook or a Windows laptop that will make you sad using it. Or a MacBook Air from like 3 years ago. So,
or some jerry-rigged mess where it's like a Mac Mini that has like a junk screen attached to it or something.
yeah.
Because let's be honest, we've all seen at least some random Redditor do stuff like that. So yeah, here's the thing. As I look at this, I think yes, it's going to get used in schools. Yes, it's going to it's obviously going to be the thing that you should get for your grandma or grandpa, whatever, if they just need a computer and they're going to just use it to like browse a few sites and Facebook and maybe, you know, I don't know, watch Netflix or adult content, whatever it is. Yeah, this is perfectly good for those purposes. No one should be gaming on this. No, not realistically. Nobody should be doing video editing. I wouldn't generally want to send too many people to do like photo editing, though it would be fine. It'll work. Yes, Carson, adult content. What? Your grandpa does not venture to the hubs of adult content. Got to throw this stuff in. It keeps people It keeps people laughing. Okay. Anyway, the concern I would have on this, like, I think it is going to be a perfectly acceptable, serviceable laptop for those kinds of purposes. The concern I have is that this is going to suffer the same fate as like a lot of Chromebooks did. It's fine today, and then in like 3 years, schools are going to realize, oh crap, we can't even run the latest Mac OS on this without it just chugging. Or, or they'll quickly run up against that RAM limit, especially with AI features if they actually try using those. As Hoopy also pointed out earlier, the memory is also shared with the GPU. So yes, the system is better at swapping, but you're also giving up a bunch of that to the GPU. So if anyone's trying to run GPU stuff, good luck. Like, that 8 gigs is not going to do well. So I have a feeling there's a lot of places that are going to get these, think that they're okay because they live up to the early expectations. And then in 2 to 3 years, they're going to hit their limits and realize, oh, this isn't that good for us. We shouldn't have gotten these. And at that stage, it's obviously way, way too late. So, I think this is a good product. It needs to exist. But people who are looking to buy it have to have realistic expectations, and they need to know what they're getting into, which I feel like the existence of this product is almost cursed by the fact that anyone who would be in the market for it is also not the audience that's going to know that they need to know whether or not it's right for them. If that made sense. I think I worded that poorly, but
yeah. I mean, it seems good. I say, Alyssa said, let's see what an Android laptop looks like in October. I would buy this so much faster than an Android laptop.
Same.
Like
not even a question.
They're not in the same category. Like, this MacBook, even though it is lower power and maybe a little shitty at some things, this has a terminal. You can put an IDE on this. You can have normal Photoshop on this if you need it, or Krita, or all of the other like actual desktop apps. You can put VMs on here. You got emulators. This is an actual real computer. The Android laptops will be slightly better Chromebooks. Except, actually, that's still an open question because we don't know how browser extensions are going to work on that version of Chrome. So maybe they don't have normal extensions and they're actually worse than Chromebooks.
Yeah, certainly possible. And in general, the software ecosystem, look, there's no disputing you're going to be running at a little bit of some limits with the MacBook Neo, but the practical reality is you can still install Photoshop. You could still install Affinity. You could still install DaVinci Resolve and use it for video editing. You can do all of this stuff. The experience might be bad. You might have to get like external SSDs or some kind of external storage. You might have to jump through various hoops, but you can do it. And there's a lot of other software that you just simply can't get on Android. Or at least not as good a version as you could get on Android.
Yeah.
And Carson asking, what do we think of the Neo name? Well, I made fun of it, obviously, with the episode title of this stream. The Matrix call out being an absolute necessary reference. I don't think it fits. Truthfully, and it's not even about the Matrix call out. I just think MacBook Neo doesn't really make sense. It
doesn't mean anything.
Well, Neo generally is
new. Yeah.
So I mean, but there's nothing about this that's new. Truthfully, like, this isn't a new thing. It's literally using a now outdated processor. It's shipping, like launching with an outdated processor. It's launching with outdated specs, the, 8 gig and 256 gig limits. Um, nothing about the hardware strikes as new. This is not a new product in that sense. Like, the name does not make any sense there. And beyond that, like, I don't know. I guess a more appropriate thing to say is, yes, Carson actually hit it exactly in the same way I was just about to. Is something that would imply mini or tiny or I don't know.
Well, they can't do mini because it's physically the same size,
Right,
as the
MacBook
as
Air.
the normal. Yes, again, they box themselves into a corner. I don't know why this can't just be the MacBook SE.
Yes, that would have been perfect.
Which, SE also doesn't really mean anything, but like at least that's the thing they've been using for
the cheap stuff.
budget stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did re-enable my horrifying preview.
Yes, I saw.
Because there is a option to hide my face, I think, in here somewhere. So I don't have to look at it, but other people can if they so choose.
So yes, I agree.
Is.
This is a bad name. There has to be some other name that they could have chosen. SE would have been a given, or an easy choice. They could have gone other directions too. And I don't know why Neo had to be it. But yeah, here we are. This is certainly a choice.
Carson said, I thought the base MacBook Air's 14-inch display. Yeah, it is, but I think mini would imply smaller. Like kind of what a lot of the rumors were saying with like a 12-inch, like a new 12-inch MacBook. Or even smaller, because they have gone smaller in the past, just not anytime recently.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe the 1-inch difference is enough to distinguish like mini versus Air, but I do feel like if you're going to go to mini, like you need to have at least maybe a 2-inch difference. If it was a 12-inch display, then at that stage mini might make sense. And I don't know, maybe that's just maybe reaching for an explanation. But yeah, I don't know. I would just like a different name. I think Neo fails to get the point across on this. Not to say that it's the worst name. I mean, Google has come up with some much worse names for products too. But yeah, this just doesn't convey what the product is. Let's see. So still for $500, what is essentially this but smaller and worse and with fewer components is ridiculous. Let's see. From an engineering standpoint, the iPad mini is probably more complex given less internal room. Oh yeah. Well, yes and no. I mean, logically the iPad mini, the only thing that should really be more complex is the battery life. Because as far as I can tell, the MacBook Neo, it's obviously thicker, but most of that is probably taken up by keyboard space. Otherwise, it's just a display and probably nearly identical battery to the iPad. So they basically just took all the components of an iPad, added a keyboard, and just kind of reconfigured everything. That seems like that's all this is. That and they jammed in a second USB port. So it kind of makes sense that this is priced the same as some iPads, because that's really all it is. but it also runs Mac OS, which is, in my opinion, that's the distinction. Like, that's what makes this like actually a worthwhile product. Not to say iPads aren't worthwhile; they obviously serve their purposes, but
Right. It's just a much narrower
yeah,
range.
exactly. It's
and this is just a normal computer.
A normal computer that really limits what you can run on it. Yes. that is the thing that I think is going to just keep being the call out issue. Oh, and really quickly, I don't know why I was going to mention this earlier and kind of got sidetracked. Alyssa, yes, what you were seeing earlier, it is just a blanket that I have on my lap. Actually, technically 2 blankets, but yeah, that's what you were seeing. My stomach maybe doesn't get enough sun, but it is certainly not that white. Anyway, Hoopy, Johnny Ive is out there somewhere furious they did this to his beautiful vision. Look, I'm actually going to disagree with you here. I think Johnny Ive would love this because it has so few ports. This is exactly what Johnny Ive always wanted, was something with as few ports as possible. And obviously 1 port was too few, so they had to make it 2. And let's see. And otherwise, this is basically just as featureless as it can be. They still have the same keyboard layout, which I don't think loved, but at least it was a thing. It still has the large trackpad, which I'm pretty sure I was perfectly content with. And the only thing that I think he probably would have taken issue with is the you have kidney problems yellow. That's I think he would have rejected that color choice. Otherwise,
the sickly yellow, yes.
Yes. Otherwise, I think he would have been perfectly happy with this laptop because it has that, beautiful design that that he certainly would have favored. Wait a second. Oh, okay. I see what that is. Oh no. Okay, I didn't notice this before, but the headphone jack is way forward on the device.
It's in a weird spot.
Well, you say weird. I love that it's there. I don't think it makes a lot of sense that it's all the way back at the USB ports on all the others.
Carson said, Corbin, please get a new haircut. Yeah, they didn't have my exact hair in here, I don't think. And also, this isn't exactly my face, but I'm also historically bad at trying to make avatars that look like my face. So I'm trying. This is as close as I can get right now. Also, again, this avatar is very weird because I think it's trying to keep my real life location centered. So if I move, yeah, it's moving. Why is the camera fixed? That's the question. If I move over here, because I'm just leaning back and forth, not even that much. That's very bizarre. So if I get up to grab a snack or something discreetly, it will be identifiable. Concerning.
I mean, so it's like real life.
Yeah. But here the avatar is snitching on me. This avatar is hilariously bad. Yeah, it's really funny that once again the people that are really innovating in the virtual avatars, the metaverse stuff, is the furries. I don't think any furries worked on this, and that's why it looks like this. If they would have let the furries cook on this, I bet it would have been pretty lifelike. But it's mostly just pretty fixed avatar, but they did hook in all of the tracking stuff. So these are my pretty decent hand movements if I like wink. That goes. But yeah. Also, again, I'm like looking over here because on my view, I have the meet call on my right side. So you're over here, and I have the chat over here, and I have my main browser window in front of me. So that's why it looks like that.
I will grant, aside from the avatar being just a little awkward, it's surprisingly good at sort of keeping you in the keeping a world like perspective on you. So the fact that you are looking at different directions and
Yeah, and you can see my hands when I have to move things around. I'm doing the little
yeah. It's really good at a lot of that.
Someone
Also,
said, Corbin, is that Samsung's avatar thing or Google's new one? This is the Galaxy avatar. I don't know where the Google equivalent is or how to find that. So something to investigate.
So also I like what Hoopy said, and yeah, this is something I meant to say earlier too, and I just totally spaced it, but yeah, the fact that this exists, the Neo, it is basically an admission that iPads failed to replace laptops. I mean, that's something that Apple was trying to position for I don't even know how long. It seemed like forever that we just kept hearing that, we're in the post PC age and all this other stuff, and like that was something Jobs was saying when he was alive. And nope, never happened. We're still reliant on laptops all the time. Like sure, you can make an app on an iPad using their Playground and sort of Xcode-ish stuff, but you can't really do it. Not even close. Not a good app. You can edit videos, but can you? Like, you can do it, but it's not a good experience. You can do a lot of things on an iPad, but none of it is a good experience. At the end of the day, we still have to have a desktop OS to do a lot of the same stuff. And it's just a better place to do certain types of work. So, yeah, there's just no way that an iPad is really a good replacement for a laptop in most context. Obviously, in some cases, an iPad is better. In some cases, an iPhone is better. No disputing that. But at the end of the day, this is just we got to have laptops, and Apple finally gave in on that fight.
Yeah, and I will say, follow up to the Google Avatar, I did find where that is, the likeness app, and it says I need the app on a Google Pixel 8, a Galaxy S23, a Samsung Z Fold 5, or newer Android phone to set that up and have it scan my face, and I don't have any of those. So I think that's why I have not tried that one. So, if I don't think I have. I don't know. I'll try it later. I'll dig out an Android phone, but all of my Android phones are old.
And of course, Alyssa, hoping for 5G on the 5G and OLED for a M6 MacBook Pro this fall.
Yeah, there's still no 5G MacBooks, interestingly, even though Apple is making its own chips now for cellular. They're not putting those in laptops yet.
Well, not in laptops that they're selling.
Yeah.
I've personally seen one that had a modem in it, but that was a prototype test unit, so doesn't really count. So yeah, it's been long enough that I'm not even convinced that the M6 is going to have it, but we can hope. I'd like to think that they'll do it. I won't even be getting one, but yeah, it would just be nice. I think it's kind of insane that they haven't shipped a MacBook Pro specifically with cellular modem yet.
Carson, it looks like the support page you linked me talks about Samsung's avatar specifically. But I do know that the Google one is in here, and there's like a toggle in the settings. So I don't know. I'll dig through my Android phone, see if there's something that likes that. But I'm on the slightly unsettling Samsung one for now. So, oh well. Which is, I'm fully cranking this headset up to as much as it can handle. The fans are on. It's not happy. It's very funny.
Let's see. And Hoopy saying, sticking to your last theory that they'll only add cellular to a Mac when the Mac sales start to drop off. If that's the case, I'm not sure that they're going to be adding cellular for quite a long time, because right now, with the way things are going, and especially if the rumors are true about Windows 12, which supposedly is, at least according to some site, I forget who it was, like Tech Gamers or something, supposedly there is a possibility that 12 is going to launch this year, and if it does, it's going to have, again, if we believe this rumor, it's going to require that it has to run on hardware with an NPU. If this is all true, it's going to mean that Windows 12 won't run on a massive portion of hardware out there. Tech for gamers. Oh, it was fake? Okay. Regardless of these specifics, if there are hardware limitations, if there's a really high threshold in order to run Windows 12, or honestly, if Windows 12 launches and it just pisses off enough people, because every Windows launch does, then it's kind of like mailing lists. There's this whole thing people have said about mailing lists where every time you send out a new mailing list item, there's some percentage of people who receive it that are always going to cancel. Like, it doesn't matter how good or accurate what the quality of the thing you ship out is, there's some portion that will always cancel. And I feel like that's the position Windows is in right now, where every time they do an update, Windows users there's some percentage that are just going to be like, you know what? We didn't like Windows 10 and Windows 11. 12 is here. It apparently doesn't fix X thing that I don't like. I'm leaving. And then that's it. Like, you've just lost that person forever. And where are they going to go? Most of them are probably, not all, but most of them are probably going to run to Mac OS. So I think Apple is probably in a fortunate position where every time Microsoft does anything, it basically ensures more people want to buy Macs.
Yeah, Apple is sort of that meme of that goes around every time that any game company does something, and it's the image of Gabe Newell, and it's like, I keep doing nothing and winning.
Yes.
Although, granted, not quite the same, because only Apple can build a $500 laptop that's this nice because of all the insane vertical integration. But it feels the same sometimes.
Yeah.
Also, the whole Windows 12 thing, I saw someone said it was like one of the articles doing AI, but like the original source was a PC World article that I don't think was AI generated. They were just like talking about industry speculation stuff. I don't know, but I don't know. Eventually, people will learn to not get their information from Twitter. They have not figured that out yet. But if something is going viral on Twitter, the smartest thing you can do is assume it's fake unless you prove otherwise. I mean, you can do that with like all sorts of information, but then you go crazy. But doing it at least for Twitter is a good starting point.
Pretty much. And the thing is, even again, like I kind of said before, whether the rumor was true or not, and evidently it's just not, or at least it's been sufficiently.
It wasn't even like a
debunked.
rumor. Yeah, it was. It was like the OnePlus shutting down thing, where it's just like, I mean, they might shut down, and then whichever site did that, I forgot, was like exclusive. OnePlus is shutting down. It's like no.
It was what was I don't remember the name of the Android site now, but it's the one that we always the one that we always assume was posted.
It wasn't Android Authority, it was the other one.
Yeah. Android Headlines, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's it. Anyway, yeah, so but my point was going to be, true or not, it kind of doesn't matter, because there's just Windows is just hemorrhaging users. Maybe not hemorrhaging in like the, oh my god, everyone's going to be gone in 2 years. It's not that kind of hemorrhaging, but there's just some portion that hit their limit, and basically whenever the time comes to do an upgrade, that's when they're going to do it, and their upgrade is going to be leaving Windows. So, it's just going to happen.
Let's see. Okay, so I don't have the dock open anymore. So what's the next Apple thing?
Let's see. I'll close these tabs real quick. And the next one up was the Apple introduces the new MacBook Air with M5.
Air. Okay. Yeah, so the rest of these are, besides the iPhone, the rest of these are pretty simple internal updates.
Yeah, they basically just refreshed with the newer chips and maybe a few slightly upgraded hardware.
Yeah, there's a couple things in here. It's not just the new chip, but it's mostly the new chip. So this does have the M5 that I believe they put the M5 in something else. I think it was one of the like the base MacBook Pro or something. I forget what already had the M5.
I think the regular MacBook Pros have it.
Yeah.
I'll check right now.
So that's in the MacBook Air now. You can get it with the just base M5 and a couple other minor things. They mentioned that the new MacBook Air has up to 1.9x faster AI video enhancement in Topaz Video compared to the M4, 1.5 times faster 3D rendering with ray tracing in Blender than the M4, 1.5x faster image processing in Affinity compared to the M4 Air, and of course, like, all those numbers are much bigger if you're looking back at what people are probably upgrading from, which is like an M1 Air or possibly late stage Intel Max. So, kind of normal performance and battery efficiency stuff. Other thing kind of worth pointing out here is the MacBook Air is now 512 gigs base storage. So the 256 is gone. Thank the Lord. That's nice. And then also the SSD is faster. They say 2x faster read-write performance compared to the previous generation. So I don't know if that's sequential read and writes or random read and writes, but either way, that's a nice improvement. And then, wow, my guy is just like fully drifting off to the side. He's gone. He wants out.
He's making an escape.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to be stuck in the gray box anymore. Okay, that's good. So yeah, M5 SSD. I'm gonna have to recalibrate my guy here in a second. And then I think that was it. Oh yeah, also it has the trying to make sure I'm not saying misinformation. It has Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6, and I think that's from Apple's in-one chip. Yes, the in-one chip is in this. So this is one of several devices that Apple is now using its own wireless card in. Not the MacBook Neo. They're actually, I saw someone mention that they've got a MediaTek chipset in that for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. But this has the in-one. The MacBook Pros we'll get to in a second have it. I think something else. So more vertical integration goodness there.
Okay, so for quick follow-up, the M5, they only announced the regular M5, not the Pro or Max or anything like that. And it went into it is the base 14-inch MacBook Pro, which is not really the Pro. It went into the iPad Pro and Apple Vision Pro. That's it so far, except now we obviously have MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros that are getting the M5 and higher M5 models. Or variants would be the better word for it. So yeah, basically finally getting real M5.
Yep. And I mean, it seems good. Also, this is $100 more expensive. The MacBook Air was starting at $999. This starts at $1,099. Or if you can, get the education discount, it's still $999. So, not great, but it is double the storage now, and M5. So not a complete ripoff, just annoying, and maybe it will go on sale like all of the previous models did. I don't know, with supply chain weirdness how that ends up, but all of the previous models dipped by like $200 by the end of their shelf life. So don't know what's happening there, but maybe that'll happen.
Yeah, I'm reluctant to tie this entirely to increasing RAM prices, but I'm sure that is a factor here. Because they would have, in order to do that storage upgrade, they would have already charged an extra $100, which is stupid. That's a pretty inappropriate amount to charge for that storage upgrade. But seeing as RAM prices also went up, I have a feeling they probably wanted to do this anyway, and they're just kind of bundling higher RAM prices with the storage upgrade in order to come to that extra $100 price.
Yeah, that seems likely to me. So they've got. Oh, I clicked the wrong link. Thank you. Okay, so that's
Ending up on adult
that's
sites.
That's the Air. No.
Sure.
So that's the Air. Also, I guess I'll just go to the. I don't know if it's the next one, but I'll just go to the MacBook Pros. Well, actually, we'll do the chips and then the Pro.
Yeah.
The other like kind of big thing here is Apple introduced the M5 Pro and M5 Max. So we have higher end versions of the M5 chips now, and that is in the MacBook Pros that we'll get to in a second.
Yep. So their big talking point is, of course, it's better at AI and it's got more unified memory bandwidth, which the bandwidth actually I think is really a big deal, like genuinely, because there are a lot of apps that are really going to be pushing a ton of data through. For example, I know I always bring it up, but video editing, being able to get just really, really super high bandwidth going actually does have a pretty big impact on how quick you can accomplish rendering and work with data, especially on like multicam or multi-stream situations. And certainly if you're using like 360 cameras and anything of the sort, like this does have an effect. Is it necessarily noticeable? It depends, but it does help. It's obviously also a big deal for AI, which is the only thing that we're allowed to talk about these days.
Yeah, I didn't look super closely at these new chips, but I know it's all the usual boosts you get with the higher end Apple Silicon chips. So more cores, higher bandwidth, like you said. Um, I guess kind of the interesting question is, when does Apple put this in a desktop? Because all of the Mac Minis, Mac Studio, Mac Pros are all on pretty old Apple Silicon chips relative to this.
Yeah,
So
I when I was looking through to figure out which things had the M5, I was really blown away by the fact that the Mac Pro is still on an M2 Ultra. They have not updated it since the M2 came out. Well, M2 Ultra came out. And the Mac
yeah,
Studio is split between the M3 and the M4, which at least it had an M4. So that's, you know, up to date. But they're still selling an M3 model, which kind of hard to explain, especially since apparently that one's the more expensive one. Wait, what the hell? Um. Oh, I see. It's the M3 Ultra versus an M4 Max. They don't do an M4 Ultra, I guess. That's interesting.
I don't think they do the Ultra. I don't know the last time they did an Ultra, but it's not every generation.
Yeah, evidently not. Um. Well, they did an M2 Ultra, an M3 Ultra. I think they skipped it on the M4. So in theory, maybe the M5 will get it, and they might do a Mac Pro update.
Yeah, and
Or maybe
I'm
they'll
not
just wait for the
sure.
M6.
I'm not sure how strictly it's needed also, because
No.
I know the main thing with the Ultra was it was several chips just connected together, and now Apple's doing that on the Macs as well. So I don't know if that's just an architecture that they don't need anymore. I'm not read up on it.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm
yeah,
hardly an
so
architecture nerd, but
yeah, so they got the new chips, and the new chips are in the new MacBook Pros, which I will go to as soon as the page loads. There it goes. Um, yeah, so again, same story here as the Airs. The 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros, you can now buy them with an M5 Pro and M5 Max option. This does mean I no longer have the latest MacBook Pro, which is very sad because mine is an M4 Pro. Um, but same story here as the Air, where they're swapping the chips. They're putting in a faster SSD. Trying to see where that is on this press release. Yeah, the same 2x faster performance claim. Also, the MacBook Pro, if you get the M5 Pro, the base storage is now a terabyte, and the M5 Max base storage is 2 terabytes. And then also at the same time, they are changing the 14-inch MacBook Pro, which is the base M5, like the one that already existed. The base of that is now a terabyte as well, and I assume it was 512 before. So that's nice. And trying to see what else. Oh yeah, also the Apple in-one chip. Corbin is gonna give me nightmares. Yeah, I don't know why the guy is my headset is having serious tracking difficulties now. I think because I'm in my room and not all my lights are on. So it can't track things right. So I'm not moving, but my guy is slowly drifting onto the side. So I'm gonna turn him off now. He wants to escape this mortal realm, and I'm gonna let him. Um. So yeah, M5 chips, N1 for wireless, better SSDs, and I think that's it. That's it for the MacBook Pros. Um,
yeah, I mean, they're good. They're obviously really powerful and impressive. There's just the catch of not outside of just changing the chip inside and some of the configuration options, not much really changed.
I'm saying Carson's comment of bedtime for him is really good.
Nice.
Just putting the pillow over him.
Oof.
Yeah, he'll come back.
Not if you put the pillow over him for long enough. Just...
He's not real. He doesn't. Can you die if you were not alive in the first place? Anyway,
we're getting deep.
Speaking of dead, let's talk about the iPad Air. iPad Air also now has an M4 chip. This is my favorite type of Apple product refresh because for the last 5 years, they've had no ideas except put the new M chip in it, and now we're just gonna do that.
Yep.
So now it has an M4 chip because everyone using an iPad really needs that much power for scrolling Facebook. I'm being a little bit facetious. I know people do digital art and video stuff. That is still not really hitting the limits of an M1 or M2 iPad most of the time, except for very specialized stuff. And Apple could allow more software onto the iPad to take advantage of that, higher capabilities, and they will not. So unless you are using Final Cut or one of the other advanced video editors or Logic or one of 5 other potential workflows, it does not matter that this has an M5 in it now.
So
sorry, M4.
I will I'll slightly defend Apple on this one and then immediately take all that back and just completely wreck them. But in the defense portion of this, yeah, I will say there are actually quite a few apps that can make use of the hardware. Maybe not full extensive use of it. Frankly, iPad OS does not give you the ability as a developer to make full use of an M4 chip, just full stop. That's not even a thing that the APIs even support. The M4 chip has a lot of capability that just isn't exposed anywhere in iOS.
Well, if you're building an iOS app, you still can't do just-in-time compiling.
Yeah.
We're just so far from using the chips how they're supposed to be used.
Exactly. So, but even then, there are some apps that will basically take advantage of as much power as you can offer them. So, the M4 absolutely does have more power, and that's an advantage for the iPad or for upgrading iPads. That being said, what's going to really suck is somewhere in the maybe near future, maybe far future, they will come up with another feature that the best example, and I can't think of the name of it, but it's basically the multi-app interface. What is it called? Stage Manager? I want to say that's it, but I'm not sure that's the right thing.
Stage Manager is it's one of the ones. It's not the one that was just, well, I think that is the one in iPadOS 26 where you can do that. It looks more like Mac OS.
Okay.
But there was a different Stage Manager before that, I think.
Yeah, I can never remember their specific marketing names for these things, and I don't use half of them or most of them. So whatever it is, it's basically kind of like virtual desktop, but not, where you actually do have multiple apps running simultaneously. Here's the thing. When they launched that, they had a whole bunch of iPads that couldn't use it, but a few of them that could. And they had to do some weird, this newer model that came out isn't able to use it because of this very niche detail that a certain processor didn't support, but this older iPad that didn't even have as much power, but it technically did have this one feature. It could actually use it. And there were some weird interplay issues like that. Apple, I think, kind of went through some rough patches because of that stuff, and they have a tendency and historically a pattern of not launching features on hardware that can support those features. And sometimes there are good reasons, sometimes there aren't. What's really going to suck is in, say, 3 years, they launch some new feature that everyone's like, ooh, that actually looks good. We want that. And they're going to be like, oh, yeah, we're just not supporting it on the M4. Oh, but there's actually this other device that has an M4. We are supporting it. And then everyone's going to go, but wait, why? What's happening here? Like, what's the explanation? And they won't have one.
Yeah.
And I fully expect that's going to be the sort of case here. The iPad Pro will probably support a thing. The iPad Air will not. Or who knows? It might even be reversed. Maybe the Pro won't support it and the Air does.
Yeah, because also, like, Apple says the iPads have, M2, M3, M4, whatever, but it's like a super bend version.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like exactly the same thing. So Carson said, can you explain just-in-time compiling and what that would change? So one of the weird like rules that Apple has for iOS apps is that you cannot have an app that is compiling code because they want to be able to see what the app does. And also there's like kind of a security reason in that there have been security exploits that run through just-in-time compilation and allow like system like escalating a process. So like there's like kind of a security reason for it, but the end result is that you can't have a third-party web rendering engine on iOS. You can't have emulators that run at a reasonable speed. That's why like the only one, or like the closest you can get is Delta, and that only does like pretty old consoles because anything newer requires that for good performance. Like Dolphin is not on the App Store for that reason because you just cannot emulate a GameCube at acceptable levels without that. And it also means that like a lot of like virtual machine stuff can't run, but that's different. That's virtualization. But it's one of like several things that Apple says you cannot do that is kind of essential for a lot of higher end performance stuff, or just a different web browser. Like you need that to put Firefox on iOS if you wanted to do that. And so they had to carve out like all these weird exceptions for Europe to be able to do that, but still there's not no one's doing that because it's so much work and overhead and you have to implement it in a weird way. So it's just it's a rule that the end result is the iPad is missing a lot of apps that could be there because there is an M4 chip, but they're just not allowed.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I think at least as much of this is due to they just don't want to allow certain types of things on the store. I think it's more of a competitive ownership situation than necessarily security. To some extent, I'm sure security factors in too, but yeah.
Yeah,
I
someone
think
in
they're
the
just
comments mentioned that like specifically it's probably that it's just running arbitrary code, and just in time is that. So I'm sure that's the exact rule is probably that one. I'm mixing it up a bit, but
also I'm gonna go an extra step and theorize there's possibly a logic that if they allow certain types of things into the store, then they will lose their grounds to disallow other things. And the best example of that actually is to use browsers, but basically say, let's just say hypothetically they allowed virtualization. If Google Chrome came along and said, oh, you're allowing virtualization, all right, cool, we're just going to include a virtual machine with our browser in it. And next thing you know, they can basically bypass that limitation in a sneaky way.
yeah.
So I I think that's at least as much or more the um, practical strategy that they're trying to prevent. Whether or not that's actually it, I don't know, but it would kind of track. Um,
Yeah. So
so
yeah, that's the
yeah,
that's the iPad.
a-
Um,
and I know that this isn't the biggest thing, but I find it interesting that Apple in the same breath as they're announcing new M5s, and the base M5 has now been around for several months. Um, we now have products that are still coming out with M4s, which is fine. There's nothing. It's not like we need to have an M5 in the iPad Air. I just think it's kind of funny that they've fully gone into the cycle of uh an a now year and a half old chip. I think it's about year and a half. Maybe it's only a year old. Whatever. But now a relatively old chip is still hitting new devices. So their production capacity is obviously just sort of getting spread across multiple generations.
Yeah.
But anyway, that brings us to the iPhone 17e.
Yeah. For you. So
Oh wow! Wait, what? What's going on with your audio now? Okay. Think he's reconnecting. It suddenly went super quiet.
what about now?
Okay, it's fixed. It just went super quiet and like it almost sounded like you'd walked across the room from your mic.
Weird, because
Yeah,
it is literally attached to my face, so I can't
exactly.
do that. Okay, so iPhone 17, we're in the home stretch now of the Apple. Um, this basically fixes all of the issues with the 16e. Um, it's still a budget phone, so it still has the like iPhone X style notch. It does not have the screen cutout, if that matters. Uh, the screen is still pretty good otherwise. It has MagSafe finally. That was so bizarre that it was not on the 16e, but it's there now.
And it's still bizarre that it's not on the new Pixel. Just
Yeah,
saying.
or the S26.
Yeah.
Um, so that's nice. It has it's still a little bit weird in that it has one camera. It's still their like fusion camera thing that doesn't really do what they say it does, but it's still like an okay camera. You're just not getting the flexibility of having like a super ultra wide lens or like the same type of zoom, but like it's still fine. Like all the modern iPhone cameras are acceptable. Um, and it's got the C1X chip, which is the upgraded version of the Apple wireless modem that was on the last one. Apple's claiming up to 2x faster performance, hopefully better reliability, because I think that was the first gen was a little bit wonky. Hopefully they've solved that now that they have a year's worth of data of how people were using the modems in all kinds of scenarios. It does support all of the satellite stuff, so you can do like emergency SOS and Find My over satellite, which is good. And besides that, it's just normal iPhone. It's got IP68. It's got an action button. It's got a OLED screen. It's got USB-C. Still no headphone jack, and it starts at $599. So not bad.
So you have a
Again,
choice between buying an iPhone 17e or the Neo.
yeah.
You can only have one.
Or I'm still the the pricing consideration for this will still vary a lot on like what carrier you're on or like what your financing situation is. I would expect this is still in the price range of like last year's normal iPhone. And I think for a lot of people, that still might be the better purchase just to have the more capable cameras.
Yeah.
But certainly with the first iPhone 16e, I was like, I don't know why anyone should get this unless they specifically want Apple Intelligence for some reason, because the iPhone 15 was just it had, you know, the normal camera setup, it had MagSafe, it had all the missing stuff. But now this is a more complete device, so I it's more of an open question about what your options are at the time.
Yeah, I certainly lean in the direction of, if you can, just go with the higher end phone from last year versus this, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Depends on what your you know what your carrier's doing, what deals they have,
that too.
what
You're right.
what your financing is. I'm that's gonna vary for everyone, so I can't make like a rash judgment like I could more easily with the 16e. Because this seems like a better phone. It's really just the cameras are gonna be a little bit worse, or not worse necessarily, just less flexible because you don't have the super ultra wide.
You just have
Um,
fewer cameras, just full
yeah,
stop. And while yes, they can get away with quite a bit on just a single main camera, it doesn't. It's not going to be as good at accomplishing the things the other cameras did. That's it. Like, that's what it just comes down to.
yeah. I haven't looked super closely at the specs. I'm sure it's like lower light in the sensor or like some other like small trade-off like that. Um, but yeah, so it seems like a decent phone. Much better value proposition than I think the 16e was, but see what your options are if you need a phone. Maybe last year's flagship is a similar or same price. And because Apple updates all of its phones for forever, um, not sure, you know, the one from last year is still going to be fine. It's still going to last a long time.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that goes for, you know, Pixels and Samsung Galaxy devices as well. You can go a year behind if you need to.
Yeah. Not that this has a whole lot of meaning to it, but I'm mildly amusing myself just very briefly. The notion that the current price of the budget iPhone is what it used to cost to buy the flagship phones from like 15 years ago. Maybe
Yeah.
even like 10 years ago. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just a couple years ago, there was the iPhone SE for under 500, and
Yeah.
that's gone now. But you know, at the point it was, I think I got my SE. I got like the SE3. I think the starting price for that was $430, which is a lot less than 600. But also at that point, it had a very, very old design and a very small screen that modern apps and websites were not built for. So this is a more normal iPhone.
Yeah.
Carson said flagships used to start at 649. Yeah.
Oh, I remember when 500 was the price point for a flagship phone.
Or like
Especially
those early OnePlus phones.
Oh, I'm thinking back to like the Windows mobile phones. The first iPhone I think was fairly close to that. There were definitely some Android phones that popped out, like some HTC phones that were like 550, 6 territory. The original Nexus 1 was, I want to say 550. I might have that wrong, but yeah, we actually had some pretty accessible phone prices. We just didn't know it at the time. because those were already more expensive than most people were spending on phones.
Yep. So I think that's all the Apple stuff. Was there anything else besides the Samsung one that I'm not gonna do today because it is 9 o'clock?
Nope. That was the only other thing on the dock, and we can save that for next time you're on.
Yeah, because we were maybe gonna do me talking about the Galaxy XR, but I am like 3/4 the way through a like review and editorial about it that will sort of serve that purpose, and then I guess like whenever, hopefully that goes up soon, and then if we want, there can be like an expanded discussion on it or just me talking about it. But Carson said, did we cover the MacBook Pros? Yes. Yeah.
We
Not a
did. We
ton
just kind
because
of
it was
skimmed over them because
Yeah.
it's this. The MacBook Pros themselves really were just refreshes with the M5 Pro and Max chips, which we also talked about those, which there also wasn't much to talk about on those because those were basically just, they raised the specs like that.
Yeah,
that was pretty much it.
they're the same laptops, just the newer M5 chips, faster SSD, higher base storage capacity, and the in-one chips, and that's it. They're otherwise identical.
Yeah. And yeah, since there's nothing like touchscreen or stylus support or any of those like desirable features, there was no change to the body. It looked like there weren't even new colors. So yeah, there was just so little to say about them. We kind of just, we mentioned them, talked for a minute, and then kind of moved into the next thing. Which, hey, don't get me wrong, I want to get one, but yeah, it's just not that good of a topic, sadly. Yeah, it's Apple's whole 3-day announcement, which I want to remind people, this was a 3-day announcement for a lot of products. They did actually announce a lot of products today, which include let's see, or not today, but
it was this
over
week,
the last
yeah.
3 days.
Yeah.
Let's see. So counting the displays is 2. That's the Neos makes 3. Air with the M5 makes 4. I don't know if we really count the M5 chips as products by themselves, but those were announced. There was the MacBook Pro that makes 5, iPhone 17e, and iPad Air with M5 that makes 7 products plus the M5 chips. So that's technically 9 different announcements, though some of those, like the chips, get bundled together. And the thing is, though, outside of the Neo, all of these are actually really just, we made the numbers a little bigger. Like that's kind of what happened. It was a bunch of blog posts which all kind of amounted to the numbers got bigger. And I would even argue with the Neo, the announcement was, hey, we made all the numbers smaller. But
yeah, it's just normal iterative. We put the new chip in it, which is good because, you know, if I'm buying a laptop, I'd like it to be the newest thing that Apple can manufacture at the time.
Yeah.
But it's just not that interesting to discuss, at least until there's like reviews, and then people can do fun comparisons of like, here's how Apple is smacking the shit out of Intel this year. But we don't have that yet. And Austin said, how many SKUs does Apple have across all their products? It's pretty wild. I mean, it's like dozens because
it's literally thousands.
Yeah,
and I'm not talking about
like,
I'm not talking about I like old products that they no longer make. I'm not even including that. It's because every iPhone configuration, including different carriers, and different colors, all of these things literally multiply that number. So the iPhone by itself accounts for it's like 600 and some or 700 and some SKUs. And then do the same thing with iPads and do the same thing with Macs. They have literally thousands of SKUs.
Yeah.
But when you factor in that, oh yeah, like here's a Mac or a MacBook Pro. Yeah, I mentioned country, or maybe it was carrier, but whatever. I made country. My bad. And you just figure like a MacBook Pro or an iPhone or something like that. A lot of those SKUs come down to, oh, this one has 256 storage. There's also 512 and 1 terabyte or whatever the configurations are. When the SKUs differ by just the color choices and how much RAM is there and maybe like one other thing. Well, RAM and storage, maybe. Like there's the products themselves don't differ that much from one to the next SKU, but they do have a crap ton of SKUs because those are the differences.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, I get it. It's they have a lot of SKUs, but it's also not that complicated of a product lineup outside of the iPads. The iPads,
Yeah, I
I'm
was
sorry.
about to say the iPads are insane. I feel so bad for every Best Buy employee that has to explain that to someone, especially when it gets to like which Apple Pencils go to which iPads.
Oh, yes.
I would find that a not enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I think Apple needs to somebody needs to like thump some sense into Apple regarding their iPad product layout, because the whole thing, and I don't think Apple ever said this, it's something that I think Apple fans kind of foisted upon them, but the whole logic that always existed for Apple's product lineup was basically you should be able to walk into a store and somebody says, "Oh, you want a laptop? Okay. Do you need to do pro stuff, or are you just a casual user? Great. Then here's the laptop. You pick how much storage and you buy that." Like that was it. It was supposed to be as simple as like one question, and then maybe you pick storage and color, and maybe RAM. Obviously, they also had a pretty long phase where you had to pick maybe processor and a couple of other things. Like they did have configuration phases, but they've tried to mostly cut that down. And then you get to iPads and it's like, oh, well, okay. Do you want one that's got a screen that maybe does really bright so you can take it outside? Do you care about what kind of things you can do with the stylus? Oh, well, okay. And do you need something that you can attach a keyboard to? Oh, well, you know what? Actually, we just updated this one specific product line so you can attach a keyboard to it, but only these other new keyboards, not those old keyboards. And yeah, like the iPads have gone completely off the rails. Somebody needs to just sit Apple down and say, look, every iPad from here on out, same stylus. Every iPad from here on out, same keyboard connector. Same this, same that. And by the way, while we're at it, we're just gonna kill like one of the iPad lines entirely. There's no reason for it. Pick either the base iPad or the iPad Air. It doesn't matter because they're practically the same damn thing except for very minor differences that, look, just eat the cost on it and sell them for the iPad price. That's it. I just solved Apple's problem. And it didn't take a lot of thinking to do it. So,
And that was about as much time as it takes to explain which Apple Pencil goes to which iPad.
yeah.
So,
Actually, I think that was less time than that explanation
Yeah.
takes.
because there's always follow-up questions to the pencil. It's
Yeah,
well, what
like,
if-
well, what is this? Well, what's the difference between them? And do they have different features? Oh, they
how does
do.
the pressure sensitivity work? Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you charge them? Because, wow, does that have to become a weird question?
Yeah.
So yeah, Apple, fix your iPad lineup. It's stupid. But other than that, cheers to pretty much all the other products. Like, not everything is what I think it should be, but at least the products make sense in their place. Mostly. I feel like as time goes by, we're really going to be looking at that Neo and asking a lot of questions. But maybe when the Neo 2 comes out, it might make a little more sense. Maybe. Man, even as my brain starts kind of wandering over the Neo 2 stuff, I'm really questioning, like, uh-oh. What's that going to look like? And what's the update schedule going to be? I hope this isn't going to be like the iPhone what was it called? The old, before they went to the SE.
The iPhone, it was the iPhone C, I think.
No.
That was the plastic one.
Maybe the SE was the original name. No, it couldn't have been. Or wait.
I mean, the cheap iPhones went from the iPhone, I think it was the 5C to the SE, and then they did 3 SEs to the...
And then they put SE at the end of the number instead. That's what it was. Yeah, okay. Yeah, like the original iPhone SE, instead of getting a yearly update, it was every 3 years, I think.
Yeah, it was not frequent. The SE was neglected.
Yeah, so I kind of wonder if we're going to end up seeing the Neo go through that same sort of update schedule where it gets updated about as often as the Mac Pro. And if that's the case, I think that's also going to be really bad.
I'm sure it'll be like whenever their like manufacturing can afford extra capacity for something. I mean, it's what they've been doing for forever. It's like, okay, we're shifting these production lines to the M5. Now these can pump out M4s for iPads, and so it goes.
Yeah. Oh boy. So yeah, I think that pretty well covered the Apple event where I think it just to call it out, I thought it was really funny that you tried to play coy with are we gonna, or were there any, when you asked if there were any subjects we were gonna cover besides that Samsung thing that we're not gonna cover, and then you proceed like 2 sentences later to say, oh, I was gonna talk about the Galaxy XR, but
well, that's what we were talking about, is like maybe talking about it.
I know, I just think it was funny that you played coy with it and then immediately shot it down yourself. But anyway, oh yeah, Alyssa, yes, no new Apple TV, but I'm gonna argue that I think that's waiting for
someone
later
else
this
who
year.
was waiting for a TV refresh, so you're not alone. There's many more. I mean, I would probably get an Apple TV if I had more HDMI ports, but I don't, and I don't really want to unplug things or get a dock, so I'm going to continue wasting an abhorrent amount of power and running YouTube on my PS5. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'll agree that's definitely not the best place to run it, but hey, it is what it is.
It doesn't lag. Sure worked.
That's the truth. So yeah, it was definitely an Apple event. That much is true. But the point I was making earlier is they didn't do videos for any of these products. They didn't show them off with big speeches about this is the greatest, fastest, newest, coolest thing that we've ever made and blah blah blah. No, they did a bunch of blog posts. If Google were to do a bunch of blog posts, everyone would look at it and go, hey, that means they obviously don't think these products are worth it or that they're going to do any good. And when Apple does it, everyone's like, oh, wow, see that new thing? And somehow it just kind of gets blown off that, yeah, there was just no they did no stage presentation. They didn't tell a story about how these are special or anything. And it's because almost every announcement here was just, yeah, we made numbers bigger. That's it. They made numbers bigger. The only things in here that really were exceptions were obviously the MacBook Neo, because entirely new product. And to maybe a tiny degree, the iPhone 17e, I guess, and the studio displays. And again, like, that was mostly just numbers are bigger. And not much else could have really been said about them. So, outside of the Neo, none of this really warranted stage presentation. So yeah, I kind of get it. Like, they did blog posts, and that's I think kind of the right choice. It's boring, but it's the right choice.
I mean, I've sat through more boring events, so I think they could have made this an event. I don't know what the calculus is on their end of when it's worth it, but I don't know. That's a decision for their marketing people that I don't really I don't know. I don't have anything to say there, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll just freely speculate that I think their calculus is literally just do they want to tell the story? There's not a lot of story to tell here. You know, it's again, numbers went up. The Neo is the only place where they could have told the story, and they probably should have. Honestly, I think they probably would have been smart actually doing a video presentation for that. But then a whole bunch of people would have flipped around and said, well, you're doing videos for that. Why not do videos for the other stuff? And then it makes it a lot clearer. Oh yeah, the other stuff was just minor refreshes. Or maybe not even minor, that's the wrong word for it, but they're just spec bumps, and there's no other story to tell. And that would completely overshadow all of the other things that came out. So Apple, I think, in terms of marketing, made the right choices. Just, they're not, it makes everything less interesting. The stuff about the Google TV 4K. So yeah, I mean, it was an Apple event. That was pretty much the story. I'm getting so used to Corbin's avatar that he looked away, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, Corbin's busy or looking at something else, and
no, I'm looking between the Meet window and the browser window with the chat in it, and I have to refresh the chat a lot because the web browser is not scrolling correctly.
Oh, fun.
So, yeah, again, was I don't have all my stuff on here, so it's not ideal.
Well, that, and I'm sure the YouTube chat interface sucks because
yeah.
While
also my guy floating away periodically, and I have to do the recentering, which I don't know why they built like why is the guy in a 3D environment, like, instead of just being fixed to the virtual camera? That's such a bizarre thing, because like if I get up, yeah, I can just walk away and be like, I'm out of here.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I can kind of understand why they would want that in certain context.
If it worked, but right now it's not working. Like, I'm back in my chair and I'm just drifting away. I'm out of here.
It's the rotation of the Earth. I like that explanation. My question is, why don't they make this an option? Like, you should be able to literally reach out, grab the camera, and position it, but you should also be able to like tap on it and say, just lock it to me. Like, it should just follow me wherever I go.
I don't.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's probably some explanation to this. There's a product manager out there who absolutely tell you, oh, well, the reasoning is we did this, and you'd get like a 15-minute explanation about the various ways that it works and ultimately it would come down to, yeah, we just thought this was better. But you know what? We'll add the thing you brought up too, because that's better.
Carson said, "Why don't you use the YouTube app for the chat?" Because I think the YouTube app is locked to like a 16:9 ratio unless the video changes it. So I wouldn't be able to resize it to like a tall vertical window like I have here. I haven't like tried that, but I'm assuming that's what happens. Alyssa said Steam frames save us. Well, the Steam frame I don't think has face tracking at all. I believe it's going to have eye tracking because I know they said they wanted to do like foveated rendering or streaming, at least foveated streaming, but I don't think it has all the other face bits and hand tracking stuff. Person said Android XR vlog style. I mean, I think I can flip the camera around to record like my POV, but then you just see the inside of my apartment. That's not super. It's kind of a mess right now. So I don't really want to call myself out like that. I might might have like papers lying around also with like
bank
mail
information
or something.
and...
Yeah, so I shouldn't do that. But I think I could.
Yeah, and hey, that's I believe me, I understand that, because that's half the reason I have a green screen up most of the time. Is right now this tiny little office, which is unfortunately tiny as it is kind of a mess because I've got a ton of stuff I'm working on, reviews, and I'm reorganizing some stuff. And so, yeah, I've got junk everywhere. Like, it literally piled up around me. It's kind of unpleasant.
Pop out chat. Yeah, I have the pop out chat open in Samsung Internet. I don't think the YouTube app on Android does pop out chat because it's not like a desktop website. I don't think it works like that.
What I could do...
Can I change the background in there?
I'm assuming that he's talking to you as opposed to me.
Yeah.
But what I could always do is I could chroma key a different background for you and just eliminate that gray. Because outside of maybe the collar on your shirt, the blue collar, that is,
yeah,
I don't see any other gray that matches. So, and even then, I don't think that's the same gray exactly. So yeah, if I locked it to that specific color, and it'd be really easy to narrow it to that very precise code, then yeah, I could put you on any background.
Oh yeah, here's the background. If I change it to, I'll change it to a white. Let's see. Yep, there it goes. So I can change. Not a picture though, which is a shame. But
yeah, go back to the gray background. That or maybe black. I don't know.
Try like a dark purple. Dark purple might be good. No, that looks weird.
Kind of does. And I'm normally a fan of purple.
Yeah, I think it's also the fact that like my guy doesn't have shadows or anything. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we're done. Unless everyone wants to watch me dick around with this horrifying guy more.
See, the funny thing is, I think people would love to watch you mess around with this for a while. Actually, it could be legitimately interesting, but
I can do hand tricks. You know, I've got the hand and finger tracking here.
I would be super amused if all of a sudden you just accidentally broke something by just trying to make random gestures.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden
like
you stumble onto like
the
developer
Apple
settings,
confetti setting. Yeah.
Can't stop laughing at his avatar.
What do you mean? This is so natural and normal.
You look like a kid from Polar Express. I don't think I ever saw that, so I'll take your word for it. But what I think is probably the funniest thing about it is your neck is like freakishly narrow.
Yeah, it's the neck's weird, and it's also like whatever shadow they have going on looks like I'm like pointing my head out really far or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I can make my guy a different like it looks like the Mii maker from the Wii. So I think I can change some of the proportions, but I don't know if any of them change the neck. I agree the pencil neck is a little looking weird.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, it's I mean, as avatars go, to be fair, I've seen worse. And yes, I was talking to AI this whole episode.
Yeah,
Um
I'm the stand-in.
Corbin was pre-recorded, but not real Corbin and AI Corbin. And then we just replayed that over this AI so so the reaction would seem legitimate.
You can well you can tell it's AI because every time Cody would say something, I'd be like, "You're absolutely right," when in fact I disagree with everything Cody says.
Happens a lot, yeah, pretty much. um so yeah, I think that is in fact a wrap for this one. Um let's see, is there anything you wanted to mention, bring up, discuss, uh toss around, kick around, make fun of?
Not really. I've got the like extended review editorial thing for the Galaxy XR like 80% done, maybe 70. So hopefully that'll be done soon. It's interesting in that it's a device review where I actually have like way too much stuff to say, and I don't think I've had that experience in years because usually my device reviews end up being like, oh, it's a phone. You already know how a phone works, so I don't need to cover most of this. But because this is an entirely different build of Android and like it doesn't even work the same as like the Quest headsets, I have a lot to discuss. So it's a very beefy article already. I think it's at like 3,500 words, and I'm not at the conclusion yet, and I haven't talked about games much. So
Yeah, that's fair. Also, Carson suggesting I know you're joking, but got to add the AI generated tag. As it turns out, nope, because the criteria that they list are that it makes a real person appear to say or do something that they didn't say or do. That I don't think we're going to assert that this looks like a real person. Alters footage of a real event or place, definitely not the case, or generates a realistic looking scene that didn't actually occur. I think
we're good.
yeah,
I think we're good.
we're very much safe here.
I think I'm good.
Nothing about this triggers the word realistic. So yeah, that's not a that one's not going to be a problem. Um let's see. Oh yeah, Alyssa bringing up that you're on the GTX 1080.
I mean, I don't. There's not like a lot of newer VR games, um, unless you're talking about other games. But I assume the headset. But no, I've been playing some Half-Life Alyx. I can't run it at like the maxed out graphics settings, but it still looks fine. Uh, been a lot of VR chat. That's the main one, which is taxing on my computer because it is not an optimized game. Because you know they let anyone make worlds and avatars in Unity, and not everyone is super interested in optimizing their Unity projects. So
uh
I'll talk about all that in there. I'll try to get like some game footage. Also, a couple of games on the headset itself because there are a couple of those, but primarily PC stuff.
yeah. Yeah, and it is kind of funny when the product itself can technically do certain stuff, but the best thing it can do is still just be an interface to a an entirely different piece of hardware that's doing the actual work. Alyssa, I still have hair. It's just really badly cut.
I mean, I've played some newer I play like Planet Coaster 2 and stuff on the PC as well. But yeah, I'm not like, you know, all the fancy ray trace stuff I'm missing out on. I'll upgrade that eventually. Again, I don't care. Again, for the last like 5 years, my PC has been in the like, if I upgrade one thing, I kind of have to do all of it because it's all on dead end platforms now. So I'm just gonna let this run as long as it can, and then when something dies, I'll consider upgrading. But it's fine. It's fine right now.
And I only bring this up because I know it'll take all of like 3 minutes for you to explain it, but I think since the last time you were on, you killed Nexus Tools. Do you want to say
Yeah.
anything about that or just ignore it?
There's a blog post on blog.corbin.io. People can read if they want, but the gist was like it doesn't need to exist anymore, because the things that its main purpose was installing ADB and fastboot, and now that's in like every software repository, and like Windows has a software repo in it now, or a package manager. Mac has Brew. It's in most of the Linux distros, so it didn't really need to exist anymore. I'd rather point people to the solutions that like automatically update and all that fun stuff. So end of an era, but also it was not really relevant anymore, and users were declining quite a bit because I'm sure all the other solutions were better, and also just normal non-developers don't have as much of a reason to use that stuff anymore. I think the heyday of custom ROMs has come and gone, so there's just less usage of that in general. But of course, I still used it to sideload APKs on this headset a while ago. So
Yep,
yeah.
pretty much it.
So rest in peace. It had a good run. I didn't give anyone malware as far as I know.
As far as you know, being the operative thing there. Oh, all right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. So, thanks everyone for coming by, hanging out, and being part of the conversation. As always, if you'd like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. And of course, huge thanks to supporters of the channel. Alyssa, David, Diablo, Austin, and Carson. Y'all are awesome human beings. As always, if you are doing any shopping on Amazon, Adorama, maybe Insta360's site, I have a page of recommendations on my website, codytoombs.com. Go check it out, click through the links, buy something there. I get a little cut of that, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Anyway, with that, I will be back this weekend, as usual, for some gaming, probably some Overwatch, maybe other things. Who knows what happens? Come by and check that out. Otherwise, I will be back next week with another RambleCast. And with that, I hope everyone has an excellent rest of their week, and good night, everybody.
Bye.